people wanted to race at. And I think that's a difference because the facility itself is just absolutely phenomenal. Why anybody wouldn't want to race there is it blows my mind. The track is great. That is the most deceiving track that I've put my eyes on. Watching the videos all off season, okay, and learning what's going on, watching how the track changes from week to week, and the race that we could see that were posted up. The track just didn't look like it had much banking.
I know where you're going there.
We pulled in.
It looks like a chili bowl.
We got down there, and whoa.
Yeah.
Those are
steep.
Hey,
it was still deceiving when we pulled around the backside of the
was,
track
yes.
compared to being on the track.
Yes.
Well, I was going. I said earlier that I was going. I made a pass down the track about a foot off the right in the center of the track with the drone. So I'm going around and I'm just bebopping around through there and feeding her a little bit of rudder, and making her turn left. And all of a sudden, my warning indicator started going off. Low altitude, low altitude, low altitude. And I thought, what the heck? Well, that banking was coming up to meet the drone, and I was just about at 0 altitude. And I'm going, holy moly. And then I'm looking at that angle, setting off there, and I go, that is a lot steeper than I thought.
Well, did you lock the wheel and stab it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I just gave her a little up, and then hit the throttle. That's where I got 41 miles an hour down the backstretch.
That's awesome.
41.9. 41.9.
Nice. You got to hit 45 because it's capable.
Well, it will. Get a little tailwind, a little push. But now let me get off of racing here just for a second. Now, there's one other thing I love at Southern Oregon Raceway. It's spelled FOOD. And I am here to tell you they sold out of chicken. They sold out of buns. They sold out of all that other good stuff. So when I went down and I asked the lady, I says, do you have anything left? She says, let me look. And I hadn't had anything. And she goes over and she goes, wait a minute. I've got a corn dog. I said, I'll take it.
Well, that's the thing. They were down to corn dogs, and staff had to run over to I want to say cash and carry. I might be wrong when I say that, but they had to go get more food. Guys,
or hamburger.
The features hadn't even started yet.
And they're out of food.
At the end of the heat races, they were out of food.
That's insane.
That tells you how big this crowd really was. I mean, this crowd was huge. You guys know you were there. I'll tell you.
Oh, yeah. No, I was somewhere else.
But for opening night, I couldn't have been more impressed. It was unbelievable. And then we got into the racing and wow. I mean, that was what I wanted all off season, was to get down there and turn this thing loose and get going and get in our groove and develop our routine. And man, when you get down there and you start as a fan, I'm talking not just from the announcer's tower looking down the track, and you guys know me, I'm a fan first. And I hope when the style that I use announcing, I hope that the crowd hears that, because you can be anybody. I won't say anybody, but it's not hard to be an announcer. What's hard about announcing is making it entertaining and bringing history and knowledge, all that stuff together.
Yep.
And still being a fan.
And include the crowd.
Sometimes a lot of guys will go into one mode or the other. I try to blend both of them, and sometimes I kind of, on Saturday night, kind of found myself kind of being a fan. Did you guys happen to watch? Okay, we talked about the sport mods. Okay. Phenomenal race. I mean, you couldn't Hollywood script a better ending.
I'm going to give a spoiler. It's coming up soon.
It is coming up. Yeah, that's right.
That's what we got on the video block.
We chopped it up today, and Ed's going to do some final editing to it. And the modified race, IMCA modifieds were great. I want to talk about the sprint cars.
Yep.
Okay,
I got that one too.
First of all, the speed these guys are carrying around that track.
Mm-hmm.
That is, and when it comes to racing, I think even more so than a top fuel dragster, a sprint car would be probably the closest thing to a jet fighter. The way you have to maneuver them and the speed you're carrying, and just that you're on the,
I don't think they lifted once.
I don't think they did either. But here's the thing: JT Winningham, the 9T.
Yeah.
TJ, I screwed that up 3 or 4 times. I'm going to do it again, but Mr. Winningham in the 9T got out to an early lead, and it looked like, he was fast in the heat race, but he didn't he didn't show his whole hand. You know what I mean? He didn't
Oh, yeah.
show his cards.
You never do that.
Sandbagging?
I don't. No, I won't say it. No, he was not. Nobody was sandbagging.
No, but
No.
they got to get to know the track.
Well, and I think that's what was going on here.
And especially when everybody else is looking at them. You know, they're not going to
yes.
show their whole hand.
He was fast, but other guys just went out and said, "It's TJ." That's why the T is after the. That's how I remember. Okay, TJ Winningham. He got out to a lead, and I thought, okay, well, let's talk about second place. And I started looking back because his lead was getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then from about midway on, there was a caution about midway on that bunched the field up. Restart. He dropped the hammer. He checked out a little bit again. And Tanner Holmes found something.
Got them spurs on.
And here's the thing about this race. This race was so crazy because if you watch turns 1 and 2, when Tanner Holmes started reeling him in, he started using this line down low. And, looking down on the track, we have a better vantage point than most fans looking down on the track. We can see the line. We can see what the dirt is doing, what the clay is doing, where the moisture is or isn't, where the tack lines are, what's going, blue or black, whatever term you want to use, what's slick and what's hooked up. Winningham kept that car on the high side all the way around. There was moisture up there. He had that big right rear Hoosier and the sticky stuff, and he was on the throttle.
I call that turning right all the way around.
Oh, and he
the
was.
track. And
he was. Then Tanner Holmes in the 18T, okay, started using this bottom line in turns 1 and 2. And the first couple of times he did it, I thought, what is he doing? That is not the line you want to have at that end of the racetrack. Well, there's a reason that Tanner Holmes is a sprint car driver and I'm not, okay?
Yeah.
He found something and said, okay, I picked up a car length there. I picked up a car length and a half next time around. And then it started getting smaller and smaller. Then they'd get to turns 3 and 4 to open up a little bit. Then they'd run into turn 1 and 2 and he'd make that difference up and close in on him. It was just like watching a guy with a big fish, pull it back and reel it in. And that's exactly what Holmes was doing. And when he caught him down in turns 1 and 2, right, and he's in the slick. Holmes is in the slick. Winningham's up on the top where it's hooked up. He got up next to him, and the first time he tried it, it didn't work. It didn't work. He got next to him, and Winningham knew he was there, and pulled 3 car lengths on him.
I think I got that on the teaser reel.
Yeah, he pulled 3 lengths on him, and then they got back down turns 3 and 4, and it opened up a little bit.
That's when I got hit with the dirt clot. I remember that.
Yeah. The next time around, Tanner, knowing what that track was doing, Tanner Holmes, knowing what that track was doing down there, he stuck that thing in wide open and he hit that line perfect. Mm-hmm. It couldn't have been done any better. He pulled up next to Winningham, and he got next to him, and it was wing to wing. And I don't want to say he crowded him, but he was very smart how he made the pass. He got up there right next to him, and then he inched away, and then like he was shot from a cannon. And that young man came on in the second half of that race. He really came on, and my goodness, did he impress you guys?
Oh yeah. I was impressed by all of them.
Everybody. I didn't see.
I like the yellow car. I don't know why. I just like that yellow car, 48C.
Yeah.
I love that car.
Enrique Jaime.
Yeah, and I kept watching. And for some reason, the drone liked yellow too, and it kept running back there where it was, But I mean, as a drone pilot, I'm a fan, and I try not to be picking on one car. I try to give everybody on the track a little shot.
Right.
But for some reason, that drone wanted to go back, and then it started featuring on that black car, and he would pull up in one, like you was talking about, up in 1 and 2, and get up even with him and lose a little bit. And back off a little and come back, and I'm watching. I go, the yellow car just kind of got out of the viewfinder, and I started focusing on those 2 front cars, But I try to get everybody an even shot. I try to let everybody see everybody, but I love the way she was driving that car, or she.
That you're talking about the 8C car.
Yeah.
8C. That's a 15-year-old rookie female.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now she impressed the heck out of us at the practice session 2 weeks ago.
Yes, she did.
She got a bad break in the first lap or two. There was 2 or 3 cars tangled, and I think she had some front end damage. But Anissa Curtis, don't sleep on that young lady. Mm-mm. Don't sleep on her because she'll
burn you bad.
She will. She's that pretty little blonde girl, but when she straps in that car, she's a race car driver. I'm a number on a door, and she doesn't care about who you are either. She's there to win, and I'm telling you right now, from what I saw in the first practice, I'm not going to count her out for a win this year.
No, I wouldn't.
Dave
at
Hibbard,
all.
Dave Hibbard, the defending track champion. I thought for sure after what we saw in the heat race, it was over. These guys are all racing for second after what we saw in the heat. I mean, you saw it. I mean, did he not dominate his heat race?
Right.
I mean, the first few races, the first few laps of that race was great. After they got past like lap, 3 or 4, it was all Hibbard. I mean, he checked out and won by a big margin. I thought, oh man, he was, turning the fastest laps of the night through the heat race segments. And I thought, this deal's over. These guys are all racing for second place. The defending champion showed up, and he's here to defend that title. He's going to have his hands full, guys.
Well, I do. I can see the sprint car drivers. I've never drove a Hornet, never drove a mod, never drove a stock car, never drove an IMCA mod, never, ever, or a sportsman, anything. But I've drove sprint cars, and I know what it feels like. And I know you get in that little old world in there, everybody else ceases to exist, and you become part of that car. And the way I seen them wheeling out there, their hands had grown to the steering wheel, and their feet was meshing with the pedals at the same time. The roots was sprouting. And those cars, I swear, I told Corey, I said, look at the mods. That's the first time I've seen mods put that tail out there and turn right all the way down the straightaway. I mean, these guys weren't playing. And when you turn right going down the straightaway, you're hooking. You're hooking.
Yeah.
Because my old saying was, if your wheels are spinning, you ain't winning. Yeah, but these guys weren't. I mean, that left front wheel's
Full
up.
forward traction all the way around that
left
track.
wheel's
And
up.
to do that on that track.
And they were only checking up for a brief second. We're
If
talking
at all.
that. Yeah.
I call that feathering.
Feathering.
Feathering the pedal. Feathering the pedal. Heel and toe. Heel and toe.
Feathering.
Feathering.
Yep.
That's a southern term. Feathering.
Yes, sir. Feathering.
I love it.
Well, let me say it in English. Feathering. Not feathering. Feathering.
He said English.
See why they call me Alabama Ed? I'm not apologizing for my accent. I've been to 24 different countries, and I still speak Southern.
He still speaks Southern. Another guy that impressed me in the sprint car is David Marple, the 4M.
Yep.
Yeah.
He, that's, I'm told, his first year in a sprint car.
Who was the young guy that we talked to over in the pits down at the trailer way down on that was parked all the way down to the, I want to say, west end? The young guy. Because we asked, who's the driver of this here hot rod? And he said, I am. We was talking to him in the trailer. Who was that? He was a young kid. I don't remember the number of the car. But he impressed me.
Tanner Holmes.
Talking. Yeah.
That's
Yeah, he
Tanner
just,
Holmes, yeah.
Oh, man, he impressed me.
Did you see his interview?
Oh, yeah.
Did you hear his interview?
Yeah.
I think he's had a little practice.
No. How'd you figure that?
I have never, ever, ever heard a driver rattle off.
Sponsors.
Never. I mean, if you look at the video, it's funny because he's, we're talking. I said, let's thank some of the sponsors helping you out in 2019, and he starts to rattle off some sponsors, and it keeps going and going, and there's no pause.
He's like the Energetic Bunny.
I mean, it was almost like a rap song. It was just it was like I'm looking at him, and I turn and I look at the camera, and I'm kind of like, what is going on here? I mean, this kid is a seasoned veteran at his young age.
Yep.
The whole night, I do want to talk about the modified feature. The modified feature was dramatic, very, very dramatic. The winner made only his fourth start.
I remember that.
In the modified. He's coming out of sprint cars, gets in the modified for the fourth time, and wins the feature. Against, we're talking, Jesse Bailey, Mark Waggy. We're talking names. There was and I could rattle them off all night long.
You know, I like
Preston Jones, the 5J car, was in the mix for a while. I mean, there was some guys that.
And they was tight racing down there too.